Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4. Today, we will present our presentation about practical assessment. Before we start presentation, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Putri Aulia as speaker and as moderator, and Rusmati Sarah Nazafira and Reza Erizal as speaker. In practical assessment, we will expand three content. First, concept of practical assessment, two, stage of practical assessment, and last, practical assessment instrument. First, concept of practical assessment. Practical assessment is the process of collecting and processing information to measure student achievement and practical skills. Practical assessment is conducted to assess student ability to perform a specific activity or task that requires certain skill and knowledge. Practical skill are student ability to perform a specific activity or task correctly, effectively, and efficiently. Practical skill can be measured using a variety of assessment techniques such as performance assessment, portfolio assessment, project assessment, and written test assessment.
The next material about purpose of practical assessment. Number 1. Assessment student achievement and practical skills. Number 2. Monitor students' progress in practical skills. Number 3. Provide feedback to students for improvement. Number 4. Determine students' graduation. And the next, implementation of practical assessment. Number 1. Planning, which is to determine the purpose, material, techniques, and assessment instrument. Number 2. Implementation, which is to collect information about student achievement in practical skills. Number 3. Processing, which is to process the information that has been collected to produce a value. Number 4. Interpretation, which is to give meaning to the value that have been obtained. And the last, feedback, which is to provide feedback to students for improvement. Thank you.
Next material is stage of practical assessment. Stage of practical assessment has 5 stages. First is planning. The planning stage is the initial stage in practical assessment. At this stage, educators need to determine the following. First, the purpose of assessment. 2. The material to be assessed. And the last is the technique and instrument to be used. And number 2 is implementation. The implementation stage is the stage of collecting information about students' achievement in practical skills. At this stage, educators collect information using the technique and instrument that have been determined. Number 3 is processing. The processing stage is the stage of processing the information that has been collected to produce a value. The value can be in the form of quantitative or qualitative value. Number 4 is interpretation. The interpretation stage is the stage of giving meaning to the values that have been obtained. The values need to be interpreted so that they can provide useful information for students and educators. And number 5, the last is feedback. The feedback stage is the stage of providing feedback to students for improvement. Feedback should be given objectively and constructively so that it can help students to improve their learning.
Okay, next material about practical assessment instrument. Practical assessment instrument are tools used to collect information about student achievement in practical skills. Practical assessment instrument can be in the form of rubrics, observation format, or checklist. Rubrics are assessment instruments used to assess student performance in completing a specific activity or task. Rubrics consist of several criteria or indicators that are used to assess student performance. Each criterion or indicator has a rank of score that indicates the level of achievement of students. Next, observation formats. Observation formats are assessment instruments used to assess student performance by observing the process of completing a specific activity or task. Observation format consists of several aspects that need to be observed, such as student attitude, skill, and knowledge. Next, checklist. Checklists are assessment instruments used to assess whether students have mastered a particular skill. Checklist consists of several statements that indicate the skill that students need to master. Students are assessed by checking the statements that have been mastered.
Okay, that's all about our presentation today. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.